welcome to R&R Cine Talks. I am Clint Robison, and I will be your guide through this journey of everything independent film related. Sit back and listen to me as I interview various people involved in the film industry, do some movie reviews, and have some great generalized discussions. Thank you and enjoy. Alright guys, for everyone who is joining me on tonight's live stream, tonight I am interviewing Mike Mathias. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, you know, just living through that pandemic. We're going through another shutdown again, so that's always fun. But, you know, as long as everybody's staying safe and healthy, you know what I mean? That's all that's important. So,
True.
So you're an actor out of Central Illinois, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm originally from Pekin. Lived in Market Heights now for about the last 20 years. So
that's awesome. Yep. That's awesome. So what got you into acting?
Probably the earliest I can remember. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, so I've always kind of been a ham, kind of a spotlight whore.
Just getting all that attention you can.
Right. My running joke was that when I was born, the doctor smacked my ass. I thought it was applause, and I've been looking for it ever since.
I love that joke. I love it so much. That's awesome. So, like, was it originally stage acting, and then you got into film?
Yeah, a little bit of stage acting was. It was just really like just some small community theater stuff, and then when I really kind of got into really working towards character development and stuff was when I started getting involved with the haunted attraction here in Market Heights.
Oh, that's
about
awesome.
14 years ago.
That's awesome. So it kind of just like started getting you more and more into it, doing that, and then eventually you're like, I'm gonna get on camera.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what it was. A good friend of mine that was a makeup artist for us. She's a makeup artist on a lot of films, and she said that there was a film coming up that she thought there was the role that they had would be something I would be perfect for, right. And so I went and auditioned, and it was a great fit.
So
that was Cadavers.
Cadavers, right? And you said you were like the main antagonist in that film.
Yeah, I get to be the bad guy.
That's awesome. I've spoken to quite a few people on the podcast that have worked on that film. That's interesting, and like none of you have like recommended each other to me. It's just like stumbled upon my podcast, and I've been like, well, I get to talk about pretty much everything to do with that movie at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was for me, for it being my first time really being involved in anything as far as film. It was eye opening. It was really cool. I learned a lot of fun. It's just really kind of cool. We were able to kind of improvise some scenes too, and it was exciting to see the final cut of it. That there was at least one scene in there that was pretty much almost completely improvised by myself and another actor, Matt, and it ended up making the final cut of the movie. And so that was pretty cool. I thought that was really fun. That I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh, they kept that in.
Yeah, as a director, I have to say sometimes those improvised scenes end up just being so much better than what's written, because the actors, you guys just get so into your characters. It's almost like you become that character when the camera's going. It's really fun for myself. Like there's some improvised scenes where I've been like, what the hell were you thinking, man? But there's other ones where I was like, well, you had a better idea than me. Let's go with it.
That was not my vision.
Yeah. There's this one time, I won't say who it was or what the film was, but I was just sitting there, and I was cinematographer, and I was also the writer, but I wasn't the director. And this guy, he just like improvised this line, and like the whole cast and crew just went silent, and like I was the only one that was like, what the hell? What was that? And then we're like, all right, man, you can't improv anymore. No more improv for you for this one.
Here's the line. You've crossed it.
Yeah, you've went too far. You're supposed to be dying, and you're insulting the person. Let's keep it a little more in the realms of feasibility. But
Sure.
that's awesome that like your first major camera role, you're like the main antagonist. Like, you know, usually people are like, you know, I get to say a couple lines or I get to go do something in the background, but they're just like wham bam, you're the bad guy.
Yeah, and I honestly, a lot of it I think is because it does go back to the other stuff that I've done as far as like with the haunt and stuff. Because this character was a lot of the same character I portray there. It's as far as just how he carries himself and voice and everything like that. And so I think too when I went there, and you know I'm not exactly a small fella,
Right.
you know. At that point, I was 6'1", 275. So
Intimidating. Yeah.
the intimidation factor's there, but I'm just a big teddy bear, you know. So.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I can sound mean.
Yeah, you can sound mean, look mean, feel mean, have that ominous presence. So it's just like, man, this is perfect for you. Here you go.
Yeah, that's kind of how it all kind of fell into place like that. And then, I think it was actually the assistant director on that one, Gio. He was doing Slum Absolution, and and my part in that's a lot smaller, but still, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I got to do that. I'm looking forward to that coming out. I think it's supposed to be coming out before the end of the year, I hope.
Yeah, I've heard about that movie too. Small world the Central Illinois film area is.
I didn't realize until a year ago how much there was really going on around here. I was like, really?
Yeah. And it's about the same 15 people just going about in circles making movies and pulling people around from film to film to film to film, you know.
Yep.
There's constant work, but it's just about the same 100 people.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, some of the greatest films I've seen have got, you know, the same core people.
Oh yeah, I mean, just look at Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, and Helena Bonham Carter. Like those three, same thing over and over again, and they're all great films. Or just
absolutely
Quentin
Tarantino.
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 Yep. Yep. You know, Kevin Smith. Like everybody has their crew that they bring along. You know what I mean? And I do that. I've had the same people involved in my past 3 projects, and it's just like, well, you get comfortable working with people, you know,
Sure.
Maybe not actors, but it's like the same costume person, same wardrobe, same sound, same cinematographer, you know, you all just start figuring out how each other works. So it gets to the
especially
point.
when you find people like that you can really work together, and you know, they're, you know, that they're solid, and that you don't even have, you know, you don't have to give it a second thought.
Like those
Nick. Yeah, Nick, the guy that did sound on both the movies I was on.
He's just my sound guy.
Incredible.
That's
okay, so you know Nick.
He's great. Great guy. Yeah, he's amazing. Great work. Yeah, he's a cool guy. He does all my sound work, you know. He does compositional work, everything. I feel like I'm doing like an advertisement for you, Nick. So you know, you owe me a couple bucks. But yeah, it's a small world, you know. Like, I think you've probably worked with Anna Ayler. She was on Cadavers. Yep, I've got her in a couple of my movies. Like, we could probably
just smack her around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. She said she was a victim, and I guess since you're the antagonist, you know, that makes sense. But yeah, it's a small world, and it's interesting. But like, so it sounds like your on-screen stuff just started this year at this point, then, right? Because yeah. So has it been? I guess it's been a great first year because you got 2 projects in, and one of them you were like a main character in. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, just even think about, you know, it's like, wow, somebody was crazy enough to let me do this. And
right.
Like, okay.
That's how I am with directing. I was like, man, people were crazy enough to trust me with the movie.
Right.
Right. You know, they're all like, yeah, we're going to let you put our careers in your hands. Oh, boy. Are you sure you want to...
No pressure.
You sure you want to do that one? But, so, like, where do you want to see yourself next year at this time? Like, with your acting stuff?
Oh, man.
Bringing out the real questions.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because part of me, I love doing the more serious roles, but I'm a clown. I really am. I would love to do some comedy. You mentioned Kevin Smith. I would love to do something, kind of along the lines of a Clerks thing. But then I'd also love to really get into something really gritty and just like grindhouse horror,
like
kind of like a
Rob Zombie-esque type of film, or are you thinking more like 70s grindhouse film?
A little bit more 70s, grindhouse. I mean, yeah, Zombies got a certain charm to him. And I dig his movies, I dig his music enough, but a little bit more charm. I'm a huge horror fan. I grew up in the '80s. I grew up on all of these things, and man, I would love to do something like that again. Because of my physical build, it's something that I definitely think I could do.
Yeah, and in the indie film industry, you're gonna find a lot of horror films. So yeah. I mean, that's one of the easier things to get into when it comes to independent filmmaking is horror or romance. So
right. Well, unless it's like Sasquatch in love. I don't know how well I'll be romance. But...
Yeah, so you're tight. You're throwing yourself at that other area, the horror.
Yeah, that low hanging fruit.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you got to grab to survive, man.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting into comedy writing. I'm a natural horror writer just because I grew up on stuff like Stephen King, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, that type of stuff. But I find myself more writing things like Stephen King-esque, where it's not like in-your-face grindhouse horror, more like that psychological, you don't even know what's really happening, but it's terrifying type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm really wanting to get myself into, like, I've pushed myself, I'm writing a stoner comedy, which is completely different than Stephen King-esque horror. Complete 180, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's, I get you, like, wanting to break that mold and get into something else other than that horror, being the big intimidating guy, because, I find the best actors go against what people would typecast them in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for you to want to go against that from the big, bad, intimidating guy into the Clerks-esque comedy, that would really work your acting chops quite a bit.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of times it feels more natural to me to be kind of, is because I'm in general just a very kind of silly guy. And, it's just that's something I'm like, man, I'd really like to do that, but just finding that, because like you said, in the independent films, horror films are all over the place, but somebody making something that's kind of fun and just kind of goofy and silly, you don't see it very often.
I've got quite a few projects in the works, but I have this one project I've been talking about, and I've talked about it on the podcast a lot. It's like a satire where I'm basically making fun of people's misconceptions about the film industry. So people are like, it's easy to make a movie, it's easy to do that. So I'm just going in and I'm like making fun of people by being a character that has those misconceptions. Like, I'm just going to get a camera and make a movie. You know what I mean? So it's just like making fun of what everybody thinks about the industry. And the idea of it is like, every scene's going to be a different genre of film. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be cool.
So it's like, I'm going to be doing song and dance, I'm going to be doing comedy, horror, romance, all the different types of, you know what I mean? Just everything. Yeah. And, like, I want to get as many people in the Peoria, Central Illinois area as possible involved on the project. I want to make it like this grand spectacle. You know what I mean?
Cool. So, when do we shoot?
Probably 2 years. Probably 2 years from now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. But you know what I mean? And, like, that's something I talk about with everybody on this podcast that's in this area, because I want it to be a truly 100% Illinois film.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Like, I've fallen into the trap of, I'm a serious writer. Like, that's what people think of when they see me. Like, I have a horror universe I'm working on. I've got a dark, gritty superhero universe I'm working on. Like, everything I write's like Quentin Tarantino-esque, like super serious, dialogue-heavy, emotional. And then I've got these other projects people don't even think about that I got. Like, I got a stoner comedy, I got the satire. I'm working on a rom-com, you know what I mean? So I'm just, like, doing what I tell all my actors. Push against what you're typecast into or, like, you're comfortable into and get past that And I think if you can break that wall, you're going to be 100% more valuable to anybody in the industry. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, your diversity is gonna, is gonna open so many different doors for you.
Absolutely. And that's like what I want to tell actors like yourself, you know. Like I know you're in 2 films right now, right? But like you said, you want to get into that comedy, and it's so easy to get into horror. And if you want credits under your belt, you know, go and throw your hat into all the horrors you can.
Sure.
But also think about, like, you know, getting out there, like you said. It's a big thing. Like, I know I've seen actors that have applied to my films, and they could have 2 actors. They both can have 10 roles. You know what I mean? If one's just always a police officer, but then this person's got like 9 other characters that they've done besides a police officer, I'm probably going to go for that other person, just because they can. You know, I know it's a very generic, vague thing, but it's kind of like a resume. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So back to about yourself, like, what actor do you think is like the most inspirational for you?
Oh gosh, that's a toughie. Well, because I mean, there's a lot of different there's a lot of different criteria for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like when you think of acting, like when you're on set, you're prepping for character, like the actor that's always crossing your mind. You know what I mean? It doesn't even have to make sense for the role.
I think because I tend to lean more towards kind of the method acting, so I kind of tend to look at like guys like Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
who just get very, very, very involved in it. You know, you hear the stories about how, you know, when he was on Last of the Mohicans, he walked around for, you know, months carrying a musket, so he knew how it felt to walk around with that and
Yeah.
things like that. But I also see guys like, you know, like Tom Hanks, who, you know, he's a huge star, but some of his favorite roles I've seen him in were ones that when he was first starting out, like Bachelor Party.
Oh, yeah.
To this day, it's still one of, I think, probably one of his greatest works, and everybody's like, well, it's not a serious thing. No, it's freaking hilarious.
Or Money Pit, you know, like that's another great one.
Yeah.
I feel you. Like, there's the directors I always say that like inspired me, like Quentin Tarantino, or, you know, George Lucas or Kevin Smith. But then, like, when it comes to like my way of directing, I'm more like Del Toro. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I get really into it with the actors. Like, I'm really a people person, whereas Tarantino and them, they're like focused solely on the directing. They're not like really personable and stuff like that. And
Sure.
that's kind of where I am with too. Like, there's the directors I want to be like, but then the ones that I'm constantly like, well, I'm more like this person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, everybody has this thing where they saw this movie and that's when they were like, I wanted to get into the film industry, because, you know, you've always said you wanted to be an actor, but like, what made you want to be in the films?
Well, there's always Ron Jeremy. No, that's not going to work.
That's not gonna work.
No, we're going to edit that one out.
It's live.
Jeez. Oh, shit. We're in trouble. Gosh, what actors really... You know... Man,
Like-
I know it sounds cliche, but, I mean, like guys like Chris Farley and John Candy.
Right.
And I think because, again, it's a size thing, it's, you know, things like that, but these guys were just... Everybody just loved them, and they were hilarious.
I know.
But then you know, you go to guys like, you know, we've also got, you know, Kane Hodder. Oh gosh, what's his name? Yeah, another guy I can't think of his name now. I can picture his face. I'm totally blanking on
It
it.
happens, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, probably guys like especially you know, growing up watching Farley, watching John Candy. You know, and I think that's probably the biggest thing, is like Chevy Chase in the Vacation movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Was great to watch. Even though I heard he's a complete nightmare to work with, but, you know, on film he's great.
I mean, a lot of those great actors, I've heard they're nightmares, but, you know, is what it is.
Yeah.
There's also quite a few directors that are like giant nightmares to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, quite a few. So, what's one role, like, you've always, like, you want to play? Like, that, a character that you think would be, like, super awesome. It doesn't have to be, like, you say Batman or something, but, like, a type of character that you think would be, like, super cool for you.
Man, I don't even know if it would be a superhero necessarily, but just kind of I don't know. I always thought it'd be badass to just, kind of do the whole action hero, Schwarzenegger, Jason Statham kind of thing, where you just go in, you kick everybody's ass, you get the girl at the end, and as you're walking away, you do the whole Iron Man thing where you just stop and push a button and shit blows up behind you. Your awesome one-liners like ho ho ho, now I have a shotgun, like now I have a machine gun type of thing. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Oh God. I don't know.
Yeah, being an action, like, well, you come from the era of the action hero, like the 80s.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's the era where, like, it was either horror or action hero. Like, so,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it would be cool, because I'm an aspiring actor, too. I have 2 roles I'm cast in next year. And, like, I think it'd be cool to be, like, a John Wick type of character, you know what I mean? Just, like...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kick ass, take names, don't even worry about it, I like, actually what comes to mind mostly for, like, action heroes, like, Grosse Point Blank. Like, I think that would be, like, an awesome type of character, you know what I mean? Because you got a little bit of comedy, but you got the action, you got the killing people with the pen type of thing, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
So, like, you don't have a whole lot of movies, but it's, like, really awesome that, like, you got, like, that. You started off with, like, top billing in the script, you know what I mean? Like that's really dope for you, you know what I mean? So who was it that got you, like, I know you said it was a friend. I kind of just want to see if I know this person, because I got a couple people in mind that it could have been that got you that role. You said it's a friend that was a makeup artist, like special effects?
Crystal DePew.
Oh, don't know her, but...
You should. Because she's awesome. She's worked on a couple of different feature films. I know she's done a fair amount of stuff. Super cool lady. She's just. We actually went to high school together, and really didn't know each other in high school. There's even pictures in the yearbook of us in, like, a couple of classes together. But
didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other until, like, 20 years later when our kids were in school together.
That's ridiculous. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely incredible.
That's amazing. You'll have to get her in touch with me. I'd like to have her on here. I haven't had really many makeup artists. Like, it's usually actors, directors, writers, cinematographers. I've had a wardrobe person who happens to be my wardrobe person, and I was just like, hey, Courtney, I need somebody this week. Get on my podcast.
Yeah, I'll definitely get her in touch with you, because, I mean, oh my gosh, dude. You will have the most fun with her. She is a riot. She's absolutely hilarious. She's just, I don't know, she's 100 miles an hour all the time.
That's great. That's pretty much everybody on set anyways. When we're not on camera, there's usually jokes or some sort of bad conversation happening that really shouldn't be happening, but, that is like high school all over again, only, like, we're ranging in ages between 18 and 70, and we're all acting like we're 16. It's my experience anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But before we sign off, any questions you have for me? I usually like to end this with you guys being able to interview me a little bit.
I don't... Oh, man, not really. I'm kind of just digging this. I mean, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, like, who the hell's this guy? I just, random dude from Facebook, and you're like, I need somebody for my podcast. I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like,
It's quarantine. I'm kind of just rewatching all the Star Wars again,
Exactly. It's kind of what I was doing. I'm like, I got a bowl of popcorn and a beer, watching some Star Wars. Ooh, look, Baby Yoda. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Yeah, I like to think that I'll have everybody that's been on the podcast again in another year or so once you get more credits. And, you know, you got me on Facebook, so you can always talk. And I do periodical things where I get like 4 or 5 different people on at the same time and just have an open conversation about film. So I'll keep you in mind
God,
for that,
I would love
too.
that.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I've had like script writing conversations, acting conversations, casting conversations, and usually only out of the hour that the episode runs, only 20 minutes of it is on topic, and the rest of it kind of just falls apart. The last script writing one, we just ended up getting in a debate about which Rocky film was the best and why.
Rocky 3, absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
I mean, I kind of like the Creed movies too, but you know, they're all great films in my mind. They're all great films. I mean, some of them better than others. Honestly, I think the original Rocky is hands down like a classic. It can't be touched. But
yeah, there's just certain things you don't mess with, and I think that's one of them.
Yeah, just like A New Hope, that's always going to be a classic. But every Star Wars movie is good in my opinion too. Like, I don't have a problem with any of them.
I know a lot of people who would disagree with you on that.
And, you know, I can go into specifics and be like, I know why you say this is bad, but just enjoy the fact that it's a Star Wars movie.
It's a story. It's fiction. Shut up.
It's a movie. It didn't really happen.
Wait, it didn't?
Oh, God. But
next thing you're going to tell me Santa Claus isn't real.
We don't need to get into that one. But I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming out and talking with me, man.
I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome.
And I'll let you know, I'm planning on doing more live streaming than just stuff that's like this. Like, I plan on doing other things where I just get a bunch of people together and have random conversations, and you seem like you'd be down for that, too.
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of opinions about a lot of things.
And you don't know if they're justified opinions or not, but you have them.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, awesome, man. Well, you take care, and I appreciate you coming out and talking with me, and I'll talk to you again once you get some more credits under your belt.
Awesome. Thanks, sir. Have a good night.
No problem. You too. Enjoy your Star Wars.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for enjoying that episode. I really hope you liked it. Thank you for tuning in, and please continue to do so. Subscribe, and look out for every new episode. One should drop on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I always live stream my episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard